Hi guys and welcome to part 2 of the new Bedrock beta preview. Today we will cover almost everything added and fixed. Let's start with the bug fix for the new features. Potions, tipped arrows, and mob effects have had their colors adjusted to make them more distinguishable from each other. Archaeology, minor pottery shards can now be found as loot when brushing suspicious sand blocks in desert pyramids. Shelter pottery shard now has the correct display string. Brushes can now be enchanted with mending, unbreaking, and cursive vanishing. The brush now displays a tooltip when aimed at suspicious blocks on touch devices. Brushing other non-suspicious blocks will now produce a generic brushing sound. The brush is now dealt damage upon brushing brushable blocks. No damage is taken when breaking blocks. Use of a brush will no longer be interrupted if clicking the left mouse button while brushing, holding right mouse button. Bamboo wood set. Align the flammability of the bamboo wood set to match the other wood sets. Blocks. Suspicious sand and suspicious gravel do not drop anymore when falling on top of daylight sensors, signs, banners, mob heads, conduits, or campfires. Rules for placing blocks on top of decorated pots are now aligned between Java and Bedrock. Decorated pots no longer provide full support on their top face, meaning scaffolding, redstone dust, redstone repeaters, redstone comparators, levers, glow lichen, sculk veins, pointed dripstone, and door blocks can no longer be placed on top of them. Bells can only be placed on full faces of blocks. Rails can now only be placed on full faces of blocks. Amethyst cluster blocks can only be placed on full faces of blocks. Button blocks can only be placed on full faces of blocks. Top snow can only be placed on full faces of blocks. Corals can only be placed on full faces of blocks. Sea pickles can now be placed on top of decorated pots. Suspicious sand and suspicious gravel do not drop anymore when falling on top of sculk sensors or calibrated sculk sensors. Cherry grove. Cherry grove biomes can no longer generate invisible double tallgrass blocks above pink petals. Dandelions no longer generate in the cherry grove biome. Hanging signs. Decrease the maximum number of characters allowed in hanging signs, while increasing their font size. Arrows no longer get stuck shaking violently at the bottom of hanging signs. Hanging signs and other blocks can now be attached to anvil, bottom, chorus flower, bottom, mob spawner, sides, and bottom, grindstone, bottom when the grindstone is hanging, daylight sensor, bottom, and turtle egg, bottom. Hanging signs and other blocks can no longer be attached to the side of dirt path and farmland. Hanging signs attached to the bottoms of decorated pots now attach with a V-shaped chain to the pot. Increase the volume of sounds emitted by hanging signs. Crimson, warped, and bamboo hanging signs now have custom sounds to match their wood type. The UI background for signs and hanging signs now always matches the material they are made of. Armor trims. Untrimmed armor pieces now render correctly in hand and in the world when carrying an equivalent armor piece with trim. When swapping a trimmed armor piece with an equivalent piece without trims, both items now render correctly in the HUD hotbar. When swapping a trimmed armor piece with an equivalent piece without trims, both items now render correctly in UI slots. Camel. Camels now straighten their heads after sitting down, instead of looking up or down. Camels' heads no longer clip into passengers when looking up. The camel's dash bar is now displayed in Pocket UI as well. Camel's dismount hint is now properly localized. Boats. Mobs are now correctly positioned above the surface of bamboo rafts when riding them. Features and bug fixes. Shield. Customization. A. Top vanilla parity feature request. A shield can now be combined with a banner to apply its pattern on it. The banner is consumed on use. A shield can be combined with a banner only if no pattern was previously applied. Sniffer. The sniffer in the torchflower has now been experimentified and is available during normal gameplay. Remove the sniffer experimental toggle, since it has no active experimental content. Sniffer egg now available. When two sniffers breed, they do not immediately spawn a sniffled. Instead, a sniffer egg is dropped. Hatching. When placed on moss, the egg will hatch after approximately 10 minutes. On all other blocks, it will hatch in approximately 20 minutes. Pitcher plant. The sniffer can now occasionally sniff up a pitcher pod item. This pod, when planted in farmland, grows into a pitcher crop, which has 5 growth stages. Once fully grown, the pitcher crop can be harvested, yielding a 2-block tall pitcher plant. Torchflower. Torchflowers placed by players now have visual random locations in their blocks, aligning with their hitboxes. Torchflower seeds can now be used in the composter. Torchflower grown from seeds now has a hitbox that matches the model. Bees now pollinate torchflowers and torchflowers can now be used to tempt and breed bees. Using pick block on a fully grown torchflower planted on farmland now gives a torchflower instead of torchflower seeds. Suspicious stew can now be crafted with torchflower. Chickens and parrots can now eat torchflower seeds. Torchflower seeds can now be used to tame parrots. Torchflower seeds can now be used to tempt and breed chickens. Vanilla parity. Woodland Mansion's entrance now uses cobblestone slabs. Iron bars and glass panes now can connect to pistons. Dead bush can now be placed on grass blocks and moss blocks. The map color for black terracotta now matches Java Edition. That's all the big changes. See you next time. Bye.